Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday in Athens GO Podcast. My name is Marshall Barton. We're going to get right into it. The topic of today's video is going to be very heavily fall camp. We're also going to talk about the coaches poll, which came out yesterday. We're going to talk about some faith, some scripture, a word of encouragement for your week. We're going to watch some film. We're going to go over some film from Elijah Griffin and Noah Thomas. Then I'm going to end this episode with a Q&A. That being said, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. As we know, Georgia's fall camp started last Thursday. Georgia had some pretty interesting headlines, not crazy stuff, but just interesting stuff, very encouraging stuff for Georgia fans all around. Georgia is replacing 17 starters from last season. 52% of Georgia's team this year is underclassmen. Kirby made note of this at the SEC Media Days a couple weeks ago. We do have a higher blue chip percentage on this team, on this roster, than any of the last 4 years. I don't know if you've seen that graphic that just came out a couple weeks ago, but that's pretty promising stuff to have more 4 and 5 stars on this year's team. If you didn't know what blue chip recruit was, we have more of those on this team than we have any of the last 4 teams, and we won 2 national championships before following that up with a 13-1 year, finishing number 4, number 3 in the poll, and then last year obviously finishing number 6, winning the SEC. A lot of promising stuff from Georgia. With that blue chip ratio. We also want to look at Zach Branch and Noah Thomas. Noah Thomas has probably been the talk of camp, I would say, through this point. He's 6'6", 205 pounds. I mean, and he's athletic too. Like, he can make a guy miss in space. That's what excites me about him. We talked about Zach Branch last week. Just his shifty ability, his playmaking ability, very athletic. Very excited to see both of them. Heard a lot of good things about him. I also heard some stuff about Zion Branch, Zach Branch's brother, running with the twos at safety, which we'll get into in just a minute. Again, great athleticism from Noah. Josh McCray, the transfer running back from Illinois, was missing on Thursday, and they disclosed this as an illness-related absence. We haven't really got an update on it as of the time of me making this video. We have not gotten some more news on Josh McCray or why he's out. But hopefully we will soon. Hopefully it's just an illness and nothing else, and praying he'll get better. One thing that Kirby mentioned this past week, which was very interesting, a very bold take that we typically don't get from Kirby Smart, was the fact that he said that he had the 2 best gunners in college football history in Arian Smith and Dominique Lovett. And Kirby Smart just lost both of those guys to the NFL. Dom Lovett to the Lions, Arian Smith to the Jets. So he's got to replace those 2. And as of today, we've heard some good things about Cole Spear and KJ Bolden being the replacements for those 2. I have full faith in both of them, both athletic, fast guys. Excited to see what they can do in that spot. Again, it's just very impressive that Kirby would say that, would call 2 of his guys the greatest in college football history. You just don't typically see him giving guys that high of praise. I mean, I guess they're off the team, so it's not like it's getting to their head now, at least for Georgia's sake. Elijah Griffin, along with Noah, has been pretty much one of the talks of camp so far. Just his size and his speed. I made a post about this the other day. Elijah Griffin is 6'4", 310 pounds, and he's been consistently hitting 20 miles an hour, according to David Pollock. So that's pretty impressive right there. Isaiah Gibson, who also came in this past class with him, high 4, low 5 star, depending on where you look. We've heard some good things about him. One thing I noticed, saw a post the other day, is a picture of him I believe it was last August or last high school season compared to now. He looks skinnier, and I think that's because he's leaned out. He's put on some good, healthy muscle, some good muscle, which is exciting to see. Along with that dynamic duo defensively, we have a dynamic freshman duo offensively, so I'd like to call it Ethan Barber and Elias Williams. Heard a lot of great things about Elias Williams. Heard a lot of great things about Ethan Barber too, especially early on back in spring. In general, I heard good things about him. Just spring and beyond, I guess. But during that time, I remember hearing good things about him. Kirby did get on to Ethan the other day for pace of practice, so we have a couple nuggets like that in these notes. But yeah, that's a good little piece of information right there. Elo Medozi, who I wanted to do film on, but there's not really great film on him for me to break down at the moment, and it was kind of tough finding film on Noah Thomas and Elijah Griffin as well. Elam Mendoza, everything we've heard about him says, and I think I said this last week, that he is the biggest post-spring impact player, which is major for Georgia. It's major for Georgia because we don't really know if Georgia had that true elite best in the nation pass rusher. I wouldn't say that they did. Now I'll say this. I think Gabe Harris. Gabe Harris is going to be a great football player for Georgia this year. Very strong, very, very disruptive player. He's gotten a lot of time. He won out the job over Sam Mpemba. Sam Mpemba transferred away. Damon Wilson also transferred away. I'm sure you're going to see a bunch of time, a bunch of big plays from Gabe Harris this fall. Now, also on that note, still on defense, as I just mentioned about Zion Branch, we're going to mention the safeties. You've got KJ Bolden and Ja'Cory Thomas running at your 1 and 2, your top two, your starting safety duo. Then behind that, you've got Zion Branch and Kyron Jones. Kyron Jones had the pick 6 against UT Martin, if I remember correctly, a couple years ago. But yeah, I think that's a solid 2 deep right there at the safety position. Obviously, Ja'Cory Thomas is the kind of guy you can put anywhere in the defensive secondary, so it's exciting to see him finally starting to get a starting role. Another note, which is interesting, not player-related, but Will Muschamp has been at spring practice. Sorry, not spring. I keep calling it spring practice. I'm so used to talking about last spring. Coach Muschamp has been at fall camp. He's been on the field. He's been coaching. As I say this, he's not going to be a permanent coach. He's kind of a temporary. He'll be here and there, but his main priority is still going and watching his kid play at Vanderbilt, I believe, which is why he stepped away in the first place and is not on the staff right now, technically. But he will be helping out where he can. Again, his main priority is watching his kid. Offensive line. Excited to see this offensive line. We've got a pretty decent idea of what the starting group looks like right now. Obviously, Ernest Green at right tackle, Monroe Freeling at left. You've got Drew Bobo at center. Those are pretty solid, pretty solidified right now. Micah Morris, I would expect, is also in pretty safe spot. I'm pretty sure he's at left guard spot right now. Pretty sure he'll keep that. Michael Uni and Juan Gaston have been rotating in as well, along with Morris. I'm excited to see that group because we don't really know a lot about it, and a lot of people, because of that, think it's going to be a terrible group or just hate on it and doubt on it. And I don't really think that's the case for this Georgia offensive line. Georgia's offensive line has to be good enough. They don't have to be incredible. They don't have to be a Sam Pittman offensive line this year. They just need to be good enough because the talent surrounding that Georgia offensive line is elite in itself. So I think the Georgia offensive line is going to be good enough. Do what it needs to do. Get the job done. Not saying it's going to be super flashy while we do it, but it's going to be what Georgia needs. What Georgia needs to supply its elite weapons, elite skill players with. This is the least injured Georgia team in 5 years, is what Kirby said. I don't know. I believe that's true. Based off the reports I've read, that seems to be true. I don't know if he's... I don't know. There's no telling of how Kirby, or what Kirby means when he says what he says to the press. He has a very interesting and elite way of talking to the press. But, I mean, it sounds really good. It sounds really good what Georgia's got going right now, injury-wise. Some injuries I did want to make note of. Ryan Montgomery tore his ACL last August while still in high school. He should be back fairly soon. Rod Robinson's back. Daniel Calhoun is good after his foot injury he had. He's going to be back. He's pretty much back. Freeling's good after his shoulder. Ernest Green's good after his injury. Everyone else is pretty much good, pretty much healthy. So what we do have injury-wise when it relates to this Georgia team is good news. Don't know how long it stays like that. There's probably smaller injuries that are happening every day we're just not hearing about. But it's promising stuff. It's exciting stuff that Georgia, as of right now at least, is not battling the injury bug and has just got to go compete with themselves every day in practice and prove to themselves that they can do it, as I mentioned last week. So that's really some of the main talk from fall camp. Again, exciting stuff, very exciting stuff for Georgia. Now we're going to get into the coaches poll. As we said at the start of this video, the coaches poll just came out yesterday, August 4th, a Monday. We're expecting the AP poll to come out August 11th, next Monday. But I do want to read this poll to you, and before I get into it, overall they didn't do a bad job in my opinion. I do have some critiques near the top, obviously, as you're going to see. But overall, it's not a terrible list. Okay, so we've got, or this is what the coaches got. We got Texas at 1, Ohio State at 2, and what's interesting about that matchup is Texas and Ohio State do play week 1 at Ohio State. My early pick in that game would be Ohio State. Not to say that Texas hasn't recruited some talent, or bought some talent, but I just think at Ohio State, defending national champion Ohio State will probably defeat Texas. That's just my feeling, my gut feeling right now. We'll see how that plays out. Then you got Penn State at 3, Georgia at 4. We're at 4. I'll speak on that in a minute. Notre Dame at 5, Clemson at 6, Oregon at 7, Bama at 8, LSU at 9, Miami at 10. Another note near the bottom half of this list, number 6 Clemson will host number 9 LSU, also the first week of the season. So again, Texas, Ohio State at Ohio State, Clemson, LSU at Clemson, 2 week 1 games. Again, as I said, my winner in the Ohio State game would be Ohio State. At home for Clemson, this LSU team, now let me say this, if it were in LSU's Death Valley, which I find to be the actual Death Valley, not that I care, I'm a Georgia fan, this game being in Clemson helps Clemson a lot because I do think Clemson has more, and I don't think it's a wide gap, but I do think Clemson has more overall talent. I do think LSU has an elite quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier. Of course, everyone's saying how good Cade Klubnik is as well. I wouldn't be as confident in this one as I am the Ohio State game, but I would take Clemson at the moment. Not sure how that's going to change, but I would take Clemson for the time being. So that's an interesting game to look at. Looking closer to the top right here, I don't think Texas should be number 1. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be top 4 or top 5 or top 3. I'm just saying I don't think they should be number 1. Ohio State lost a lot of talent last year, but if we look at this top 5, Notre Dame at number 5. Notre Dame's a very well-coached football team, but I don't think they have the talent that number 6 Clemson does, and I think arguably Clemson is just as well-coached as Notre Dame. We can look at what happened last year. I'm not playing last year's games. Again, obviously that might be one of our better indicators of what's true and what's not, but I'm not really here to debate who is better last year based off of last year's results, who's the better team, who's the more skilled team. I would have probably swapped Clemson and Notre Dame at that point. I think Oregon at 7 is interesting. I would maybe bump Oregon down a little bit in these rankings. Georgia, obviously, I'm glad we're 4. And I'm glad we're 4 because Kirby Smart gets to tell everyone, hey, guys, all the coaches in the country voted. They think there's 3 teams better than you. And obviously, most teams would be like, hey, that means we're number 4. That's great. That's not the standard at Georgia. The standard at Georgia is to win national championships. And when you've got Penn State over Georgia and you've got a team that's lost a lot of talent, 2 teams that have lost a lot of talent in Ohio State and Texas, they have them over Georgia. Not debating whether that's what should have happened or any of that. I'm just saying Kirby Smart takes that to his team, and it should fire up that team, knowing that they have some teams that are ahead of them but have a bunch of question marks. That's really going to fire up Georgia. That's good for Georgia to have this sort of chip on their shoulder heading into the season. I do think Penn State at 3 is ridiculous. I think I'm not a Drew Aller guy. I've never been very sold on Drew Aller as long as I've watched him, especially against, I think it was against Notre Dame. That dude did not play very good, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I would not be very confident in Drew Aller taking Penn State very far. And I feel like a lot of people on this platform would agree with me. I don't know. Anyway, that's the coaches poll. Pretty interesting. Let me know what you guys think about that. Okay, so now we're going to do a new segment, which before we get into this, I do want to say I will never, ever on this page, on this brand, ever get into politics. I've made posts that are memes about presidents, Republican and Democrat and whatnot, but I will never take or make a personal political stand on this page. It's just not going to happen. Will there be political things that may come up? Sure, but it's never me taking a side. Like maybe a president signing something that has to do with college football. Yeah, I'll probably cover that, but I'm not taking sides politically. I will never do that on this page, on this brand, ever. That out of the way, as a Christian, I do believe I'm called to spread the gospel, and with a 50,000 follower brand, I'm going to do just that. So, and this is going to be a little part of each podcast that I'd like to do each week going forward. I think it's very important, very imperative. But what I'm going to do here is I'm about to read y'all. I'm going to bring up a topic that I've been kind of looking at recently, and that I don't think coincidentally, I think by design, was brought up in my church service this past weekend. I think it's very important to all of us, believers and non-believers, really. So I do want to go ahead and get into this subject. So the topic I'd like to talk about, again, faith, word of encouragement. It's something I've been looking at recently, something that I've been studying personally, but also, again, that got brought up at my church service, is the idea of presenting truth with grace, right? So a lot of times in our society, when someone's trying to spread the word, they will push it to somebody with just kind of a attacking negative, in an attacking negative way. Like, hey, if you don't repent, you're going to hell. Or if you've sinned, turn to Jesus or you're going to hell. Which is true, but it never needs to be presented like that anywhere. And I'm sure you've seen the guys outside of Georgia football games, which I love the idea of Christianity that they're promoting. I just hate the way that they're doing it. So, but then also on the flip side of this, we see so many people, so many churches in our society today promoting Christianity in the wrong way, promoting it as in, oh, whatever you do, it's okay. It's up to you to decide. And they don't use scriptural things. They go against what the Bible teaches. I'm sure you know some of the things I'm referring to when I say this. But really, there's a too much of a divide between how do we, like, some people do it with a bunch of truth, no grace. Some people will present the truth, or they won't present the truth. It'll just be grace and saying like, hey, come to church, come to Christianity, but they don't really teach what's scripturally sound and accurate and true. So what I'm getting into with this is sort of how do we approach that as Christians in the appropriate way. So the verse I want to share with you today that sort of speaks on this, and I think is perfect, is 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. Bit of 14, bit of 15. But it says, do not fear them or be intimidated, but in your hearts regard Christ. The Lord is holy, ready at any time to give a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. Yet, and this is part of 16, do this with gentleness and reverence, keeping a clear conscience, so that when you are accused, those who disparage your good conduct in Christ will be put to shame. And this is really profound for us as Christians. How do we spread the word? You approach something with, like, if you have a friend who's indulging in a lot of sin, been in a lot of sin in their lives, or it's just kind of their lifestyle, you approach them with, like, you could say, I don't know, maybe an example would be like, hey, you're doing this and this is wrong, but I've got good news for you. You can turn to Jesus, and these sins will be washed away, and he will make you new. The renewing of your mind. Like these are things that we just miss on so much, and it's tough. I'm not preaching from authority or preaching from some sort of idea that I have this mastered, because I don't. There's people that I know very closely where I'm like, I'd struggle to reach them the right way. You've got to sort of, who you read the room would be a good way to put it. Know who you're talking to. Know who's going to respond to a bunch of truth, bunch of just straight up, here's what's true, here's what you're doing wrong, versus somebody who's not going to respond very well to very, very clear, concrete criticism. Not in a mean way, but like if you're just throwing just truth at someone without any grace, like there's some people who won't respond to that. There's some people who will, but there's some people who, if you try to just sugarcoat it and be like, hey, you should do this or not do that, what I'm saying? Like sometimes that doesn't work. So the whole idea is sort of promote Christian ideals with grace, with kindness, with love that Jesus has taught us and shown us and exemplified on the cross. But also, the other thing I would say is don't be afraid to tell the truth. Like the Bible's very clear. A lot of people try to say it's what convicts you, what your interpretation, and it's definitely up for interpretation. But a lot of people take that whole idea of interpretation way out of context and just twist words for their own personal gain. I believe Timothy, one of the let me pull it up. I'm sorry, let me find this real quick. I think it's 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy chapter 4 verses 1 through 5 kind of speak on this, and I love that idea, those verses. So anyway, that's my word of encouragement for today. Approach people with the gospel. Approach them with humility and truth and grace. All right, so we're also going to introduce another new segment this week, which is kind of film review. I'm going to do this. We try to do it every week. We review a new player, or once we get into season, we'll review both teams, sort of what their tendencies are, some good things that Georgia does, maybe some things that other team does that have given other teams problems, where Georgia can improve, stuff like that. But today we're going to keep it pretty simple. We're going to look at Elijah Griffin's film, and we're going to look at Noah Thomas's film. We're going to look at Elijah Griffin's first. This is high school. I believe this was his last season. We're going to start right here with this clip. Hold on, let me fix the volume. Sorry, y'all. Volume is screwed up. Hold on. Sorry, this is a new service to me. Here we go. So this is the first play right here, and it's kind of interesting how this app works. But we can look at this right here if it'll let me pause. There we go. We just want to look at his get off right here, the way he breaks his block. Golly, believe that's the center right there. It's kind of covered by his name tag. Let me pull this mic a little closer to me. Covered by his name tag, but center gets off pretty quick. Center is up and going towards Elijah Griffin before Elijah Griffin even moves an inch. This dude grabs him. Actually, I think it's just a complete, mostly a whiff by 52, but Elijah also gets off quick, uses his hands. I mean, that's impressive stuff right there. And that running back just gets demolished. Look at that. Golly, that was a great play right there. There's another one right here. You'll be able to tell who it is on each play. I cut out the part where they were pointing the arrow. We're looking right here. Pretty good fight off of that block. That may be a tight end. We'll have to look at that again. Hold on. Sorry, I keep forgetting that I have to pause it. Let's see. Go back a little bit. This looks like they brought, I can't tell that. Maybe. Let's see. We got 1, 2. Sorry, this is tough looking at this. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 6 in the line. This looks like he may be a tight end. I'm not really too sure. No, I think he's a tackle. But this dude, Elijah, does a good job getting inside. He gets inside, gets the arm off of him pretty quickly. Golly, I'm sorry, y'all. This film is just, it's new. It's a new service. I apologize. Gets his arm off him pretty quickly. Fights off. Good pursuit right here. I'm going to play this in full speed right here. Very good pursuit by Elijah right here. And speed. You see the speed. The speed pops out right there. Another play. Let's see what this one is. Oh, yeah. I credit Elijah Griffin with not killing a quarterback right here and putting Georgia high school football under a lot of scrutiny for player safety. This could have been a potentially devastating hit right here. Watch this. And I think this is maybe another whiff from the... I don't even know what this play is. I think there's some sort of miscommunication. Is he going up? No, he's not going up for a route. That's a tackle. I don't even know what that tackle's doing. I'm not out here to crush high school players right now, but this tackle just misses this block, I feel like. Either way, I have no clue what he's doing. I think he just gets... I think this is a good highlight of how people are scared of Elijah Griffin in high school. Because, golly, look at this. This dude could... The quarterback doesn't even see him. How is that possible? How do you lose track of this guy on the field? And how do you let 59 be the one... I don't know. That could be on the coaching staff. Someone may have signaled in a wrong play. I don't know. This is a complete screw-up, though. And Elijah Griffin could have... Did you not see him right there? That strikes the fear of God into people, y'all. I mean, that's... Watch this in full speed. He could... I mean, as before, the first time I watched this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is about to be bad. And it was a big hit, but it could have been a lot worse. But watch this full speed. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, and there was a fumble. I think it was a fumble. I'm not sure if it was... They counted it or not. Either way, get to this play. This one's pretty impressive right here. So, looks like we got some sort of QB lead. Let's see. There's a center right there. Very high. Sits up very high. Elijah's right here on the right. Yes. All right. Yeah, he's right there. Golly. He's like your... Well, if you're looking at it from a defensive perspective, he's like your left end on this play. He's right inside of the guy blitzing. I believe he's on the inside. Yep. He does a good job. I don't know if that's like a slant or... no, it's not a slant. But anyway. Does a good job getting off this block. His teammate does a good job getting hands on him too. Anyway, he fights through this block pretty easily. Pretty easy tackle for Elijah right there. Good stuff. I'm going to look right here. There's another play. Pretty sure he's still in the same spot. But yeah, fights through right there. This was one of the most impressive plays of the whole thing. One of the ones where it was less of the team they're playing doing a bad job and him just fighting his block. But yeah, let's look at this from the start. So again, right here, he looks like he's kind of in a, let's see. He's almost, I don't know. He's almost in a 3 or 4, I want to say. Anyway, if this will scroll, we'll look at it real quick. Nope, going the wrong way. Sorry, y'all. But yeah, anyway, where he is, you'll see him. He's on the, again, left end spot, same spot as last play. This lineman's having to hold him, can't keep up with him. Does a great job fighting inside. Gets a strike right there. I wouldn't even call it a strike. I think he just kind of threw his shoulder into him, but pure strength right there. And as he's getting blocked and held, he's making the tackle. I'm going to look at that full speed real quick. So that's pretty impressive right there. One of my favorite plays of this whole thing was probably that. I believe Noah Thomas is next. Yes, now we're going to look at Noah Thomas's film. This is from Texas A&M last year. And one thing before we look at Noah Thomas, I will tell you guys, is Noah Thomas, as we said, 6'6", 205. Very big dude, but he's very, very athletic. You'll see some clips on this highlight reel where you look at a guy who's 6'6", 205. I may have just said 6'3", by the way. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I've been talking about Colby Young as well. Talking about a bunch of players. But you're going to see a guy who's 6'6", 205 and wonder how in the world does this dude make people miss the way he does. This first play isn't that crazy, but it's a good completion. Good catch right here for a touchdown against Southern Cal in their bowl game. This one just looked kind of crazy, so I wanted to show it. Good athleticism. Goes up, gets the ball. Takes 2 hits, really, and holds on to it. Pretty impressive. Right here, good fade ball. Marcel Reed hits him with a good pass right here. He just does a good job separating and finding the ball. Holds on to it. Great job. Gets both feet. I mean, that's a catch on Sundays. A lot of things go right for Noah on this play. But, yeah, pretty impressive, I would say. What is the record in that game? 5-1. Okay, I thought it said they were undefeated at that point in the year. Okay, so we're going to go look at – this is the one I'm talking about. This is some sort of jet sweep. I'm not really sure what they're in at this point. Watch the way he makes this dude miss, though. I mean, that's also Florida, so we'll mention that. I mean, this is Florida. Watch the way he makes this dude miss. And I think that first initial little cut right there makes him think he's going outside. DB screwed at that point. I mean, and he tries to recover. You see him stop his feet at one point. I don't think it's great defense, but a guy that big making someone, a defensive back, a cornerback miss like that, that is pretty promising for Georgia this year to have that sort of athleticism and size. Watch how he fights for yards right here. He's at, I want to say, the 30. That may be the 30-yard line. Watch how he fights, gets outside to the 25. Look at this. Carries 2 guys with him, basically. Of course, it's Florida. They're trying to take him out of bounds and probably tear his ACL. Dirty players. Okay, we're going to look at this one right here as well. This may be the last one. This is another fade ball. No, this is probably the most impressive one. That was the biggest skill showcase of athleticism, I'd say, you see on this film tape from Noah Thomas. But this is pretty impressive right here. This catch is pretty awesome. So, again, bowl game, Southern Cal. Look at this. Look at the fighting right here between him and the DB. The way he goes up and gets this ball is just insane to me. Watch this. Boom. We'll play it real speed real quick. Wow. I mean, and there was a flag. Here's another one. This is against Auburn. Auburn ended up winning this game, I think. And this, in some way, helped our spot in the SEC. No, I don't think it did. I don't think this game really mattered as much as people thought it would. Anyway, watch this. This is a pretty impressive catch right here as well. It's getting held, clearly. There may have been a flag. There was a flag thrown in the last play, I know. Maybe a flag right here. Let's see. But yeah, what a catch. I think I remember watching that live. He's about to lose it. Holds on to it with one arm. Auburn can't do anything about it. That's all we got for film. I mean, 2 things you can take away from those guys. Elijah Griffin, very large, very fast, very athletic. Noah Thomas, very large, very fast, very athletic. Very promising stuff from the Georgia's newcomers, Georgia's transfers this season. All right, here we go. Q&As. Asked for some questions about Georgia football earlier on my story. I'll go reply to those on my story as well as here. But I do have a few that I really like off of this I'd like to show y'all or tell y'all about. Trap game from Connor Young. I would say Auburn. Georgia-Tennessee will not be a tough game in my opinion. Everyone's trying to say that it will be. It's not going to be. Georgia's going to walk out there and show everyone, show college football what they're about. People are going to be on alert for what Georgia will be after that Tennessee game, so I don't say it's that one. I wouldn't call Ole Miss a trap game because a lot of people want to say how tough that game is going to be. Not saying it won't be a tough game, but I don't think it's nearly as tough as people say it will be. Austin Simmons is a good quarterback, I'll say that, or he's given other teams problems at least, but I don't think that he is necessarily the guy that's going to take down Georgia or give Georgia major fits. If anything, Lane would scheme up a game, or Georgia would fail to match Lane's scheme at least. So I wouldn't say Ole Miss. I would say Auburn, not because I think Auburn's very good. I think Georgia will still win this game, and I don't think it's going to be close. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout either, but if I had to pick a trap game, I would say Auburn. A lot of people want to say Kentucky. Kentucky gives Georgia problems when the game is at Kentucky. Kentucky typically does not give Georgia problems when it's in Athens, and I think that says two things. Teams struggle to play at Kentucky, it seems like to me. At least Georgia teams do, but also Sanford Stadium is just that elite. So yeah, if I had to pick one, I'd say Auburn. Another question I got on here that I actually really like. Why are they so good? Why is Georgia so good? Because Kirby and his staff are relentless with recruiting. They're also very impressive with how they have refused to change their morals and their standard on NIL and how they go about it. The standard is the standard. It's something I even like to apply to my own life that I think applies to so many things and is so positive and so good in so many ways is things can change, people can change, but the standard needs to stay the same if you want to see success. And I think that's true in football. I think that's true about why Georgia's been so successful. I think that's why they've been successful on the recruiting trail. It's very exciting to see, but that would be my take on that. That's why Georgia's so good, because the standard has stayed the standard, and Georgia will not change the standard. They will go after people who fit their standard or want to be a part and put themselves at that standard. This is a good one, too. Will Gunnar Stockton be a top 3 SEC quarterback by January? I don't think Gunnar Stockton really cares or needs to be. Do I think he will be? Yeah, I would say so. And I would think he comes back next year. That's not to say that I think he doesn't ball out this year and put himself in a position where he could go to the NFL. I just don't think, even if he did, I don't think he'd want to leave. I don't think he would feel comfortable having only a year of tape out there. I feel like that's probably what Kirby would suggest to him as well. That'd be my take on Gunnar, though. I think Gunnar's a fantastic player. The Gunnar hate is completely unjustified. It's just people who don't know what they're talking about or don't want to take the effort and time to go look at some film of a guy. Look at his film. So I would say Gunnar would definitely be a top 3 SEC quarterback by January. And I got this question last week. When is UGA wearing the blackouts? Are there going to be any new uniforms? I'd probably no uniforms. No new uniforms, and there probably won't be a blackout, realistically. But that's not what Georgia's, and I'm not saying it's a dumb question, it's just a common question with a common answer. Georgia doesn't need to be worrying about uniforms. Georgia needs to be worrying about football games. I like this one. This one's a personal one. Top 5 players from the past 5 years. I don't know if I could on the spot rank 5 for you. I also don't know that I could limit it to just 5, but I'll throw a few out there. Stetson, obviously. Brock, obviously. I love Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is such a good the fans player, I guess. Fan favorite. That's the word I'm looking, or the phrase I'm looking for. Fan favorite. Jordan Davis would be your fan favorite. Georgia lost so much when they lost Jalen Carter. Georgia, and I mean, they lost a lot of talent that year. They lost a lot of talent the year before, but losing a guy like Jalen Carter on the interior is insane. And you saw it the following season. I'm not saying that losing Brock Bowers wasn't the same level of loss for the offense, but I just don't think people give Georgia, and they've started to. They have now. I would say now people do, but at the time people didn't really recognize what a big loss that was for Georgia to lose Jalen Carter. So those guys are up there. Keely Ringo has the best play in Georgia history, so or all things considered the best play in Georgia history, so he's got to be on there. I love Brett Thorson. Brett Thorson's awesome. Love Ladd. From this team, I really love Nate Frazier, and I think when it's all said and done at Georgia, or all said and done for Nate Frazier at Georgia, he'll probably be one of my favorite players ever. I can't speak for how high. Nick Chubb will always be my favorite player, and if you followed this account for some time, you know that. That's because Nick Chubb embodies what it means to be a Georgia Bulldog. A good man, a good player. I mean, it's really all it is. I was going to keep rambling on, but that's kind of the gist of that. So that's why Nick Chubb is such a great dog, a damn good dog on my list. I mean, you got so many great players to choose from, especially these last 5 years. I love watching Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean and Roquan Smith may not have a lot of similarities as to their build, but just playing-wise, play style, they are so similar. And I loved watching Nakobe Dean. I think C.J. Allen's going to be right in that family this year. Jalen Walker was different from the two previous ones I mentioned, but he was so unique and so good in his own way. Those are the 3 Butkus Award winners. I think C.J. Allen, you'll see a bit of a return to the Roquan style. Nothing against Jalen. I think Jalen's style was great, but it was unique. And I just don't think C.J.'s that, but I do think C.J. is kind of what you see in guys like Roquan and Nakobe. I'm trying to think. It's a good question on the spot, and I could probably go on for a long time, but if I want to keep it sweet and simple, short and simple, those guys are good to put on that list. You can arrange them. And some of them have to be on there, but I mean, if you did like a top 10, top 15, top 20 with those guys, I don't know how many I just named, but I threw out a lot right there. I mean, golly, that is a good question. Kendall Milton, loved, and Cedric Van Pran and Kendall Milton, I'll end with those two. There's a lot that are qualified for this list, but I'm going to end with those two. Cedric Van Pran, being a starting center in the SEC for 3 years, and doing what he did, being the leader of the offensive line. He never got enough credit, but that goes so overlooked in football in general. A good offensive lineman in any level of football will get overlooked if he's good, because if he's good, then no one notices it and no one's talking about it unless you're going and studying film. If he's doing bad, everyone notices it. That's why it's so tough to be an offensive lineman and deal with criticisms from, not, of course, the coaching staff is reasonable, but from just people sitting on the couch. It's tough to be an offensive lineman and deal with public critique, even though sometimes some players are, you know what I'm saying. I'm getting at a point we all kind of understand. But the reason I say Kendall Milton is Kendall Milton got injured so many times and fought so hard for the University of Georgia. The cherry on top of that, though, would be the way he played that bowl game. He played that bowl game with fire in his gut. He played with a chip on his shoulder, and he was just running dudes over. I mean, the dude was running so hard in that bowl game. I'll forever love him. He'll forever be a damn good dog in my book, and for many people in their books, because of the way he approached that bowl game. That's it for this podcast. Thank you all very much for tuning in. We got a lot of stuff coming in season that you want to be subscribed for. Subscribe to this channel. Go follow me down here on these socials. I always screw up at the end, knowing it's inverted on my screen when I look at it. Anyway, these are all my socials. This Instagram, I will be on the most, active on the most. Go follow that. YouTube will have podcast hype-ups. I'll probably do some additional shorts and stuff in season. Good stuff on TikTok as well if you're there. Twitter will probably be a good amount of opinions, but not much photo content if you're looking for that. Obviously Threads, I'm pretty dormant on Threads. People just keep following me for no reason. I think it might be bots, or it's just people finding my account on there. So those are my platforms. Also down here is my merch. Please go check it out. You don't have to, but it would help me out. It'll help me be able to fund and support what we're doing. This is a Saturday in Athens hat that we created, or that I created. Not to be cocky, but I did create it. But it's got this little string on it, which is very nice. You're seeing this a lot more in newer hats. It got the Saturday Athens logo on there. You can get the word logo that's on this banner as well if you go and select it. I just want to throw that out there. You saw the polo I was wearing last week. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Please subscribe, follow, share with a friend. Very glad we can make this work. God bless and go Dogs.